Citizen Talks is a podcast series featuring discussions with humanitarians, activists, artists, and changemakers, exploring the global humanitarian issues that shape our society, the world at large.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Citizen Talks podcast. This is your host Elif As. Today I'm thrilled to have Liam Cunningham, the actor, the activist, the vocal advocate for Palestinian genocide, here today to share his insights on the ongoing crisis. Welcome, Liam.
Thank you very much for having me.
It is most definitely our pleasure. So I have a lot of questions,
Okay.
but we have a little time, so I'm gonna start. First things first, many people know you for your remarkable career as an actor with roles in many successful TV shows and movies. Mm-hmm. They were both thrilled, surprised, and happy to discover your involvement in raising global awareness. So I want to know what led you to stand on Palestine, and how do you view your role in raising awareness?
Well, I think as an Irish person, we have a lot in common with the situation in Palestine, specifically occupation. So I come from a country that, if your viewers or listeners don't know, was occupied for 700 years. And we were occupied by probably what was regarded as the most powerful empire the world has ever seen, the British Empire. And I think even now they still lay claim to 1/6 of the planet under the Commonwealth, under the royal family. We had what a lot of people would consider a genocide in Ireland in the middle of the 19th century. And we are a small country with a small amount of people, even now about 5.5, 6 million people. And we lost 3 million people because of a famine. 1.5 million people died, and another 1.5 million people had to get out of the country, went to America, all sorts of places. So as an Irish person, if you don't have sympathy with what's happening to the Palestinian people, you can't consider yourself an Irish person. We have, it's in our DNA, it's in our blood that we refuse to accept that one group of people can treat another group of people like that. Mm-hmm. And I have no choice but to speak up, and especially because of the success, I suppose, of Game of Thrones, that I have a platform now. A lot of people on social media follow, not because I'm Mr. Wonderful, but because I was in Game of Thrones.
You have an audience, very
But I would not consider myself an honest human being if I didn't stand up and at least tell people how angry I am. And there's a lot of Irish people. A lot of Irish people are very, very angry about what's happening in Palestine.
Yeah. This crisis has lasted for decades, and now we are witnessing a genocide in real time. So what are your thoughts on the global reaction? Do you think is the international community doing enough?
The international community should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. One of the very small positives that have come out of this is that the mask is off. We see where people's real loyalties are, and they're not loyal. The political representatives are not representing the people who pay their wages. The various, specifically Western governments, are breaking international law, disrespecting international law, and they're hypocrites. I mean, the perfect example is you see what's happening in Ukraine, mm-hmm. and they have a different set of rules of what's happening in Palestine. Yeah, exactly. And you cannot have that. Mm-hmm. They are liars, they are thieves, and I'm disgusted by most of the reactions to what's happening to the Palestinian people. I'm astonished, mm-hmm. to be honest. But now we know who, as some would say, who the real enemy are, and they're much closer than we thought.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Of course, there's also the responsibilities of public figures. So mm-hmm. Some might argue that celebrities, like artists, actors, actresses, even maybe influencers, may not fully understand such crisis, and they are not fully expert. So do you think we are expecting public figures too much to speak out?
No.
Or like they are helping, are they helping enough to
No,
help?
they're not helping enough, because one of the biggest excuses during the Holocaust was we didn't know. And when it was all over, but how could we know? We would have done something.
Yeah, but they know now.
They know. It's on the television every day. There's a genocide happening in front, and to not speak out while it's going on, they won't feel the result of their silence now. But when this is finished, we didn't know is not going to work. And especially, I mean, I think of, I mean, my children now are grown up, and they all speak out. But what are these people going to say when their grandchildren in 10 years' time turned around to them and said, what did you do during that? Are they going to be able to look their grandchildren in the eye and say, oh, well, we didn't know? They can't. That excuse is not there. And you have to explain to your children or your grandchildren, why did you not do something to these people when this was happening? And it's all very good shielding your eyes and saying, you know, but you did know, and you chose to do nothing. And there's a very interesting phrase that I heard, which is, if you ever wondered what you would have done during the Holocaust, you're doing it now.
Yeah, it's really deep. And as you said, the internet is not going to forget.
No, we won't forget. There will be a bill at the end of this, and there will be a bill for people's silence. And there will be, the priority is to get this to stop, and stop the killing and the murder of innocents. But after that, when whatever happens at the end of this, that's when everybody is going to have to put their hand up, and there will be fingers being pointed.
Do you think they will feel ashamed?
Yeah, of course they will, because I'll be doing my best to point them out. There's a lot more work to be done, and a lot more examination of people's morality and their responsibility and their cowardice. Cowardice is a big issue on this.
Yeah. And how do you feel about the way mainstream media covers this genocide?
Again, this is another one. The mask is off on the mainstream media. We've seen exactly, because people are turning away from legacy media. I mean, I get TRT at home, and I watch it on Al Jazeera, and I don't even bother with BBC anymore. It's beyond a joke, and they're towing the government line, and you can't have that. They're just not trusted anymore. Citizen journalism is working a lot more now, and it's a lot more trustworthy. But you've got to be very careful what you're looking at. It comes through unfiltered. But what's happened with the mainstream media, as it's known, is that everything is very carefully staged and managed. And the one thing that mainstream media has got incredibly wrong is when they are lying, and they used to get away with their lies, is that now we can go to other sources and just go, look at what they're trying to sell us. It's laughable in some cases.
Yeah, maybe without the help of social media, we couldn't be aware of what's going on.
100%. Yeah, we're absolutely very, very reliant on social media, because it has pointed out how completely corrupt some of the mainstream media is.
This is already showing that mainstream media is not doing the best
It's not doing its job.
Yeah.
It's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to inform and educate. But there's too many people in suits are telling the people on the ground, don't say that, take that away, edit that. We're seeing it every day.
Yeah, but when it comes to social media, there's no filter, and everybody can share whatever they want.
Absolutely.
So sometimes it may cause a misrepresentation.
100%. Yeah, you've got to educate yourself, and whatever comes through. And I try and do it with my children. Is that the first thing you do when you read the headline, read the clickbait, whatever it may be, the first question is, who is reporting it? And then you go to them. If it's new information, very, very important. You go, who is reporting it? have a look at what their reporting has been like are they responsible? And it may be one person, it may be a club, it may be whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But the first question you're asked yourself, who has said this? Mm-hmm. So you have to be very careful.
Yeah, you need to proof check, right?
Oh, 100%. You need more than one source.
It is now a little bit difficult to get the right news, but it's most definitely the easiest way to know what's going on right now. So, what forms of solidarity do you think are possible given the circumstances and challenges people are facing on Gaza?
It's very simple. It's moral. It's people trying to drown this out in we have a right to do this and blah blah blah. It's none of that. And I've never thought. I don't think in terms of Palestinians. I don't think in terms of Arabs or Jews or Christians or whatever it may be. It's what we are willing to allow one group of people to do to another group of people, one club of people. These are our people, and they're those people. You can't think like that. It's what we are morally willing to accept or to receive as acceptable behaviour. And the problem is not. This is just, in a sense, this is just a case in point. The big problem comes after this, is that if that behaviour is acceptable, then every dictator, every maniac leader can just look at this situation and go, we can do that now. Mm-hmm. And if we don't have respect for international law, then the alternative is chaos, and we cannot have that. Mm-hmm. We have to be able. The world has to be able to turn around to as we do in any country. If somebody's misbehaving in the city in Istanbul, the police are delivered and go, this is unacceptable in society. To threaten people, to hurt people, we take them out of society, we put them in jail, whatever it may be. They're punished by society. And that behaviour in that particular region of the world should be punished by the world. It's unacceptable behaviour. Mm-hmm. And if we allow that to continue, and you are giving the green light to that, and then anybody else can behave like that, and then you have the destruction of civilized society. Mm-hmm.
So speaking of solidarity, what do you think about the recent forms of we've been recently seeing, like from ceasefire badges to speeches? How impactful do you think they are?
We all try and do what we can. I mean, I did a little video yesterday. There's Irish visual artists, and they're trying to raise money to get blankets and various things to try and keep, because the winter is upon us in Gaza, just to try and keep the men, women and children alive. And so raising money, raising awareness, not letting people, we last Saturday I was on the streets in Dublin, and we had another very, very large march. We have them all the time. And we're trying to push through the Occupied Territories Bill, which is to refuse to accept any goods that are manufactured in the occupied territories. And that is respecting international law. Under international law, when you shouldn't be allowed to build factories on occupied territory and profit from annexation. And we are trying to do. This is not some, just standing up and being. But we're trying to respect international law. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, certainly the Western governments are not respecting international law. And we can't have that.
Yeah. Okay, Liam, as we near the end, in a previous interview you said, those who know about Palestine but do nothing are worse than those who don't know.
Of course.
Yes, this is very true. But what do you think about the roadmap should be for those who are informed, want to take action, but don't know what to do or don't know where to start?
There are many people, again, through social media. If you have an idea about this, if you're confused about it, I think there's an awful lot of people who find it difficult to deal with the violence, difficult to deal with how could somebody do this, and they don't want to know about it. The problem is, and I said it many times, is that silence is complicity. If you say nothing, you're giving approval to this behaviour. You do not have the luxury to be silent. You need to stand up, you need to talk to your family members, you need to talk to any politician that comes by, find out if your company is quietly dealing with people who wish ill of other people, where murder is a business, where spying is a business, where the undermining of governments. And you have to speak up. And I'll give you an example. I mean, we've been screaming for a ceasefire. Let's sit down, because everybody's going to have to talk at the end of this. One way, it's like a horrific divorce when people are pulling each other apart. At the end of it, you're going to have to talk. That's the inevitable. You do. And it's the same with war. And you just cannot. You cannot remain silent about this. It's heartbreaking that so many people. It's so horrible, this situation, that people are finding it incredibly difficult to deal with, and we have to face up to it. And the example I give is over the last year, when most sane people on the planet have been saying, "Ceasefire now, ceasefire now." If I say this to you now, ceasefire now, you're going to say to me, which one? Is it the one in Lebanon? Is it the one in Syria, or the one in Gaza? There's several ceasefires, and it's incredibly dangerous, and especially for this beautiful country. You have a very long border with Syria, and what's going on there, which we only have 1/4 of the information of what's actually going on, and the amount of players. And obviously it's within Israel's interest to destabilize that area, but it's also in the interest of certain Western governments. This is a fuse that has been lit. This explosion hasn't gone off yet and could very, very easily destabilize this entire area. And if this entire area goes up, the rest of the world goes up. It's in everybody's interest to put a lid on this and to stop it as quickly as it can, because chaos will ensue. And it's what happens with wars. Day one of war is the end of the war plan, because everything that happens after that is out of control. And once it goes out of control, nobody is responsible for it. And various people just stand back and watch the world burn.
So raise your voice,
Absolutely.
even in a small circle of people.
Absolutely. And it's never too late to raise your voice and announce your unhappiness and look people in the eye who are talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're saying, "Oh, we must stop this," and at the same time, "Oh, we have to be careful. This is geopolitics, and our neighbours are very strong." You have to. This is a basic right and wrong situation. Everything else doesn't matter.
Okay, Liam. Finally, how can especially young people worldwide engage meaningfully with the Palestinian cause, and what message you would like to share with them?
Don't mistrust your instincts. If you're turning around, this looks wrong, but this is so wrong that there must be a reason for it that I don't understand. That's especially for young people. Trust your instincts. You're not right. If this appears wrong to you, it is wrong. And talk to your family if there's stuff you're confused about, because the big effort is the old word obfuscation. Is that they don't want to say no or yes. What they want to do is muddy the waters, because if their methods are to confuse people, that people go, "What's that? I'm not sure. Is that what? Oh, I can't." And that's what the big thing, especially with the Hasbara, is the big thing is confusion. It's not denying. I mean, even all the charges that the ICC aimed at, when the rebuttal came from Netanyahu, they didn't deny one thing. They didn't say this didn't happen, and that's their way of you not countermanding or being counter to what they're saying. You've got to devote yourself to invest yourself in finding out the details of what's going on, because when you do know the details, that's when you can stand up and go, "No, that's not true." But you have to invest in this. You do not have the luxury of sitting back. You are not an observer. You're a participant.
Make it your problem, because
it is our problem. It's the world's problem. This is not a Palestinian problem. This is the world. That in that particular area, it's a microcosm of what can happen to the rest of us. And we have to. If we don't take care of that, we're inviting it to happen to us all.
Okay, Liam, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much.
It was a real pleasure for us to hear your voice, hear your insights and thoughts about this ongoing crisis. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
And for all of our listeners out there, we'll see you in another episode of Citizen Talks. Bye for now.